Oh, it's you. Oh man. Oh frick. Whew. I thought I was lost for a second. I've been walking around here for hours. There was a blizzard. I don't know where I am. The movie king, he was angry at me for talking about the worst movies of 2021, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm never going to talk about the worst movies ever again because I feel so bad for talking about the worst movies of 2021. And so I ran out here. So this year, these are just my personal top 20. For those of you who care, this video is for you. If you're interested in my top 20, these are just my favorite movies that came out this year. There's a bunch I haven't seen, obviously. And let's start out with number 20. I'm just going to kind of skim through them, give like a basic summary how I felt. And then I'm going to, for my normal top 10, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. King Richard, I loved King Richard. It was one of the easiest movies to recommend to people this year. It was such a heartwarming movie, just about a man who just trying to get his daughters to get as high as he wants them to be. He just wants his family to succeed, and his work, seeing him work and be motivated, that was really good to watch. Very underrated Edgar Wright movie. I don't know why everybody's hating on this movie. I loved it. I thought there was a lot of intense emotions. The acting was fantastic, and it was just an overall enjoyable movie. I thought this was a great sequel to A Quiet Place. There was more tension building, more character development. I liked how it opened with how the whole world started, and I'm excited for part 3. Maybe the second best Marvel movie that came out this year. As a solo movie, this is fantastic. I loved everything that this movie did. The comedy was great. Shang-Chi as a character was great. I was not expecting to love this movie, but I really loved it, and this is one of my favorite Marvel movies. Like, seriously, like it's really good. Whatever you want to pronounce it, Titan is one of the weirdest movies I saw this year. Objectively, it's a great movie, and I really freaking enjoyed the second half of the movie. But the first half was like really gross and disgusting, and I did not enjoy it. It was very hard to watch, and so I do not recommend this movie. I don't recommend it, but it was a very objectively artistic and great directed movie, and one of the best movies of the year objectively, but just wasn't my favorite movie of the year. The second best superhero movie that came out this year, or one of the best superhero movies that came out this year, and one of the best superhero movies we've seen in a long time. What James Gunn did was amazing. He improved the original Suicide Squad in a way that no one else could have done it, and I think it's great. The comedy is hilarious, and this movie made me tear up, which is a win. I have a review for this that will be coming out because I recorded a bunch of reviews. Some of these movies will have reviews for them. I love this movie. The subtext in this film was amazing. What it had to say, this like every character. Like, this is one of those movies where you just have to watch every single detail and focus really hard, and then it all ends and accumulates and makes sense at the last 5 minutes of the movie. And so those are some of the best movies where you just watch and you focus, and it was great. It was fantastic. Oh man, this was a great movie from House of Gucci director Ridley Scott. Oh man, he's a master, I think, of the trades, and he's just a fantastic director. He's fantastic, and he's cool, and this movie's epic. I recommend this movie. One of the best movies, like, this was in my top 5 when I first watched it. It was great. It's just like the easiest feel-good movie. I can easily recommend this movie to anyone, literally anyone. It's a great family movie. It's a great drama. It's a great story. It's just the whole story. You watch the trailer, it's amazing. I just recommend this movie. It's on Apple TV. I watched this on New Year's. I really was not expecting that much from this movie. I heard it was great, or I thought it was good, or I heard it was good, but I really thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I don't know how the director did it, but there's so little dialogue in this movie, and the direction is so simple yet so effective, and it's just a man looking for his lost pig. And it sounds so lame, but it's so good, and I promise you should watch it. It's on Hulu. All right, now we're in our top 10 movies of the year. On Letterboxd, I said I wasn't going to count Minari and Juice and the Black Messiah is an actual 2021 movie, and I'm like, oh, this movie, it follows what the guy who started the Black Panther Party, and so just I loved how it's called. it's just the name works so well, like because everyone was or the way the cops called like this Fred Hampton, they called him like the Black Messiah, and everybody was like, oh, this guy is gonna make everyone good again. And then you had Judas, the Judas character, who was one of the people that he was really close with, and he betrayed him and like just totally demolished everything. And it's like, whatever you felt about the socialist thing or whatever was going on with that, this was still like a really heartfelt story that you can get like really emotional to, and you feel really bad, but also like it's like bruh. I think I would recommend this movie. It's a great historical biopic. Spider-Man No Way Home. I made a review for this. I freaking love this movie. I so enjoyed it. Felt all the emotions with this. Everything that they brought back, everything they added onto, everything that they made fun of was so perfectly handled. And the action and like the directing was much better this time. And the writing, like it worked. It worked so well. And this was like straight up like Endgame level. It felt like for me, like the hype for this movie was unreal. When it finally came out, people were just jumping on it. It's like the first pandemic movie to hit $1 billion. It's like, okay, that's crazy. This movie means something. Like on Letterboxd has like a 4.3, which is like higher than like T10 and stuff. It's like, what are you saying? And so it's hilarious how much people are loving this movie. And I love this movie too. Like if you're a fan of Spider-Man, you're going to love this movie. It was definitely one of the best superhero movies that came out this year next to Suicide Squad and Shang-Chi. I was looking forward to this movie because I know Sean Baker. I know what he's done. I love The Florida Project. I think that's one of the best movies ever made. Sean Baker, he's a man who just really focuses on characters that kind of suck, but like he kind of finds some sort of like justification for them. Even though he doesn't say that these are good people, he acknowledges that they suck, especially in this movie. This character of Simon Rex, who's an ex-Prawn star, he is so magnetic to the screen. I loved watching him. He was hilarious and he was charming, even though he's like a totally terrible person. The stuff he does in the movie is like, oh, bruh. Oh, brother. It's like, you suck, but you're so cool at the same time. And so this movie was just like, it was the way it was shot as well. All the moments where he was just riding his bike, he was just like, and he was smiling. It's like, oh my gosh, some of the best shots. I was locked to the screen for the whole movie. But this is a good movie. I don't know if I'd recommend it. If I'd say start out with The Florida Project. The Florida Project works, but I just the way that this movie focuses on like a terrible character and like he basically is sort of learning to come back into society. And the way that they explored that, especially in the state of America at the time, in America, anybody can get a second chance, and it's very easy for people to get a second chance, especially someone as bad as this guy. And so it's almost like, maybe he doesn't deserve a second chance, but maybe he does, because it's America, or it's like, everybody deserves a second chance, right? And so it was interesting what this movie explored. Just like there was a lot of crazy moments that happened that I was genuinely shocked by. And I thought this was great. It was a great movie. I uploaded a review for this. Nobody watched it. It has like 5 views. But if you're interested for me to talk a little bit more in depth in that movie, I thought this was a great exploration of the Princess Diana. I thought Kristen Stewart was amazing in the movie. Just the way the camera work flowed, as well as one of the best shot movies of the year. The directing was and the editing and sound design and costume design, it was just like, it felt so perfect and so unique and so specialized. And like it definitely felt like the director put a lot of care into this movie. And so I loved it. I really loved it. Sort of creating a story around her, and then using Kristen Stewart's amazing acting to sort of expand on that story and like see what she was feeling at the time, or see the things that kind of suck about the royal family. Seeing all this stuff was really interesting to watch. And this isn't like a regular royal family movie. It just focuses only on Spencer, and it's almost like a psychological thriller. In a couple moments, you're like, what is going on? Really fantastic, and I'd recommend this movie, Spencer. I watched this movie in theaters. It was one of the most heartwarming movies of the year, and it's from director Mike Mills. He made 20th Century Women, which is a fantastic movie about a kid trying to grow up around a bunch of women. And then you have this movie, which is just a bonding experience between an uncle and a nephew, and the uncle is learning about parenthood. And Joaquin Phoenix's performance was so good. so subtle, so good. It's like Oscar worthy, even though he's not like Joker level or anything. He just like he does so much in this movie, even though like he technically doesn't do a lot. It's really magnetic in the kid. Everything about the movie just worked really well. It's short. It's A24. It's great. I recommend this movie to everyone. It's like one of the most heartwarming movies of the year, and I think it's like objectively just a great movie. And watch it. You can learn a thing or two. Like if you're thinking about babysitting a kid, watch this movie. You'll kind of understand it. You'll get a really good feel about this movie. And I love all the interviews that Mike Mills intertwined with the movie. Like these were real kids that were in the movie, and like some of the things that they said were like, "Oh dang, bro, huh? You think different?" Sort of idea. It was interesting. It was pretty good, and so this was a great movie. Wes Anderson's newest movie, his 10th film. I was hyped for this movie. This was one of the most anticipated movies of the year, and I watched it and I loved it. Loved every moment. This is definitely the most Wes Anderson movie. And if you guys have seen any Wes Anderson movie, you guys know. If you've seen Mr. Fox, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Next to like Grand Budapest Hotel, and Wes Anderson. You know what to expect. If you don't know what to expect from him, watch like Mr. Fox. Watch Royal Tenenbaums. Any movie from him. Life Aquatic. Grand Budapest Hotel. He's so unique with his style, and like every movie guy knows Wes Anderson, and we all know how much we love. Everybody knows how much we love, us film guys love Wes Anderson, and it's just a joke at this point to say Wes Anderson's our favorite director, but he's so unique and he's quirky and epic, and he's such a great director, and I love this movie. It was everything I wanted. It was just a telling of 3 stories, and it was just basically Wes Anderson showing off his chops, showing off what Wes Anderson could do. And so this being the most Wes Anderson movie, he went full on everything in this movie. The writing was amazing. The directing was amazing. He had the chance of basically 3 different stories. He was able to put all of his energy and all of his effort into these 3 separate stories and make them objectively great. And it was so good, and I'd recommend this movie to anyone. I have a review for this movie on the channel. This is one of those movies that when you watch, it's definitely just like sort of an experience. There's a lot of scenes that may seem like they're nothing, but they actually add a lot to sort of the world building and sort of the emotions that he's going through. Like he's walking through the giants. He's like, okay, I'm seeing a world that's unknown. I'm seeing a place where I'm small. There's like these visuals, these amazing visuals. Like this is one of the best looking movies of the year. One of the best cinematography and music and sound design, and has one of the best endings of the year. And this movie, just like what it meant, like sort of like the hero's journey, but like just like doing a twist on that whole idea was so good. And just what he learned from his journey was, I felt it worked so well, and it's sort of something I can almost relate to. Being able to just go out there, just do it, just do the thing that you're trying to do. And don't say like you can just do it. Be actually ready. Be ready now. It was just a great movie. Oh my rats! This is one of the best movies I saw this year. Steven Spielberg is freaking back with this movie. He put all of his effort. He made a real life musical. Steven Spielberg made a musical. It was one of the best directed movies of the entire year. Like all the shots were beautiful. And I'm not just saying like the movie looks great and that's why it's good. No, like the story is insane. I had no idea what was going on because I never saw the original West Side Story. I never listened to the musical. I had no idea what to expect. And so what we got was like a mix of like West Side Story with Romeo and Juliet. And it was so gripping, and it was so well directed. I loved every second of the whole movie, and I want to watch it again with my family. It was so great, and like all the moments just worked so well. There's like moments that I thought like there's pacing issues, but that's like it's a musical. What are you supposed to do? And like most people will see it as a flaw, and it's technically a flaw, but for me, I did not really bother. I didn't really worry about that at all. Like I thought the movie was great, and I really loved this thing. Gangs shouldn't fight. You know what I mean? It's more than that in the movie, but like it's just. I'd love to talk about this movie all day, but I want to put this movie at number 3. Dune was the single best movie experience I've had all year. I watched it in IMAX. I was reading the book. I thought all the directing, the visuals in this movie that elevated the story, like what he was envisioning, all the different visions, all the sound design, what he was feeling, the character of Paul. I thought that the sound design, cinematography totally worked in trying to elevate that whole story, and it was an amazing experience. I understand the criticisms that it's boring and, like, you know, the story doesn't go anywhere. There's not a lot of action, and that's because, you know, it's only a first part of the series. And I know, like, I understand that, like, a first part of a series should also still be good, but it's like, for me, what the story was developing and what it was starting to go into really worked for me. It really worked for me. And, you know, if you're a fan of Dune, if you read the books, you're gonna love this movie. If you haven't seen the books, and if you've seen, like, Blade Runner 2049, then you'd probably like this movie. From the director Denis Villeneuve. He's amazing. He's one of the best directors working today, I think. The world that is being built in this movie is, like, exactly how it is in the books. There's so much depth and so much lore and stuff to all the characters, and it's like, I'm really excited for a part 2. I really want to see a part 2. My number 1 movie of the year is Licorice Pizza. I made a review for this on New Year's Eve. I was looking forward to this movie. Paul Thomas Anderson, he knows exactly what he's doing in terms of visuals and style and writing and directing and storytelling. And I just loved the stories. I was watching a bunch of interviews, just like some of the stories that he came up with. It's just all based on, like, real characters, all the locations. Like, it's literally a slice of life from the movie. Like, the way the characters act, the way that the characters dress, and the things that they do, and the places that they go are all just, it's just like, it's literally just exactly what would happen in real life. The romance in the movie, it's a different type of romance story. It's sort of like a cycle between one guy is kind of going out of it, and then he comes back, or she's going out of it and she comes back, and then together they both realize that they, like, kind of need each other, or they love each other. And so the way the movie accumulated, and just sitting back and just experiencing the movie, watching the visuals, just sort of just being in the moment with these characters, the way that they're distracted by time, the way the movie feels like a memory. It's just like, it felt so right, and it was a better version of Inherent Vice. It's like equal to, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought that movie was great, and this movie is also great in that same sense, and it's, you know, my favorite movie of the year for sure. And so I recommend this movie to anyone. It's in theaters right now, but it's just, I talked about it much more in depth on my review. You can go check that out. But for now, this is sitting at my number 1. If I ever make any adjustments, I might add it into the comments, or in the description, or I'll post on my Letterboxd account. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I'm happy that I finally was able to make this video. A lot of movies I haven't seen this year still, but overall I think I watched like 155 movies this year, which is, you know, not bad. But I'm gonna try to get out of here. I don't know where I am. And so, see you guys next time.